The red dust swirled around Marcus's boots as he crouched to examine the massive footprint. His scanner beeped steadily, measuring a depression that could have held a small car. 20 years of tracking Earth's most dangerous predators hadn't prepared him for this. "Control, are you getting these readings?" He adjusted his helmet camera to better capture the scale. The morning sun cast long shadows across the alien landscape, making the track look even more ominous. Static crackled through his radio before a response came. "Confirmed, Marcus. That's bigger than anything in our database." He stood slowly, his experienced eyes scanning the horizon. The colony of New Hope lay 50 miles to the east, its inhabitants unaware of what was heading their way. The emergency call had come 3 days ago. Strange migrations, disappearances on the outskirts, and shadows that didn't match any known creatures. Marcus had seen the signs as soon as his scout ship landed. The native wildlife was fleeing, all moving in the same direction, away from something. Even the massive six-legged grazers that usually dominated these plains had vanished. His hand rested on the tranquilizer rifle at his hip, though he knew it would be useless against whatever made these tracks. The largest doses they had brought were designed for Earth's biggest predators. This was something else entirely. "Moving to higher ground," he reported, climbing a rocky outcrop. The red stone here was different from the rest of the terrain. Too regular, too structured. As he reached the top, his boots clicked against something that wasn't rock at all. Marcus knelt, brushing away centuries of dust to reveal a metallic surface. "Control, I'm sending new images. This isn't natural formation." The sun rose higher as he cleared more of the area, revealing patterns that could only be artificial. His scanner picked up faint energy readings from deep below. Whatever this structure was, it was still active after who knew how many years. A low rumble made him freeze. It wasn't thunder. The sky was clear. The vibration came from beneath the ground, and it was getting stronger. "Control, are you feeling this?" The static on his radio had gotten worse. "Control, do you copy?" The rumbling grew until the loose stones around him began to dance. Marcus backed away from the edge, his training kicking in. Find high ground, locate the threat, plan an escape route. But as the ground began to crack open 2 miles to the west, he realized no training could have prepared him for this. A dark shape emerged from the earth, far larger than his mind could initially process. It rose like a mountain coming to life, sending cascades of red rock tumbling down its sides. More shapes followed, smaller but still enormous, their bodies covered in what looked like natural armor plating. His radio crackled to life. "Marcus, we're getting massive seismic activity across the region. What's happening out there?" He watched as the creatures pulled themselves free of the ground. Their movements were purposeful, coordinated. These weren't mindless beasts. They moved with the precision of engineered weapons. "Control," he said quietly, keeping his voice steady even as his heart raced. "The colony's sitting on top of something. Some kind of hibernation chamber. These things, they're waking up." The largest creature turned its head, a massive wedge-shaped skull bigger than a dropship, and seemed to taste the air. Multiple eyes blinked open along its armored neck, each one glowing with an internal light. "Get me everything you have on the colony's original survey," Marcus said, already moving to a more secure position. "Geological scans, deep radar, everything. And send a warning to New Hope. Tell them." He paused as he watched the creatures begin to move with frightening speed and grace for their size. "Tell them we've got about 48 hours before these things reach the colony." The radio went silent again, but Marcus kept his eyes on the beasts. Something caught his attention. A pattern to their movements, a hierarchy. He had studied predator behavior his whole life. These creatures were different, but perhaps they weren't so alien that they couldn't be understood. And understanding them might be humanity's only chance. Marcus moved silently through the valley, keeping to the shadows of towering rock formations. The creatures had been on the move for 6 hours now, and he'd learned more in that time than he had from any textbook about predator behavior. "They're hunting," he whispered into his recorder. "But not like anything I've seen before. They're systematic. The big one. I'm calling it the Prime. It's directing the others." Above him, something the size of a passenger plane glided on leathery wings, its shadow darkening the ground for several seconds. The flying beasts served as scouts, reporting back to the Prime with deep, resonating calls that made Marcus's chest vibrate. His scanner beeped softly, picking up more energy signatures. They were getting stronger. Following the readings, he discovered a crack in the valley wall that wasn't natural, too straight, too precise. Inside, pale blue lights flickered to life as he approached. "Control, I'm entering some kind of structure," he reported, though the signal was weak. "It's artificial, definitely not human-made." The passage led down, ancient steps worn smooth by time. His lights revealed walls covered in markings, not just decoration, but diagrams. They showed the creatures, their internal structures, modifications. These weren't natural evolution, he breathed, studying the images. They were engineered. Weapons. He moved his light across the walls. Living weapons that got out of control. A deep rumble from above made dust rain down. The Prime was getting closer. Marcus moved deeper into the structure, finding a chamber filled with dark panels and dead screens. As he entered, systems began to power up, responding to his presence. "Control, this is bigger than we thought. I'm in some kind of control room. The beings who made these creatures, they built it to monitor and direct them. But something went wrong." Holographic displays flickered to life, showing data he couldn't read but diagrams he could understand. The creatures weren't just weapons. They were part of a system. Each type had its role. The flyers as scouts, the medium-sized ones as shock troops, and the Prime as the command unit. They're not just heading for the colony, he realized, studying the patterns. They're following old programming. The colony. His blood ran cold. The colony is built on top of another hibernation chamber, a bigger one. The ground shook again, closer this time. Through the ancient structure's sensors, Marcus watched as the Prime approached. It was using its own bioelectric field to activate more hibernation chambers. More creatures were emerging from the ground. "Control, we have a serious problem. These things aren't just waking up, they're waking others. And they're all networked together. The Prime controls them all." He studied the displays, trying to understand the alien data. The creature's biology was incredibly complex. Natural weapons combined with communication systems and control interfaces. They were designed to be commanded, but their creators were long gone. The structure trembled. Through the sensors, Marcus saw the Prime directly overhead. It wasn't an accident. The creature had tracked him to this facility. "It knows I'm here," he whispered. "It can sense the systems powering up." These facilities, they're not just control rooms. He paused as new information scrolled across the screens. They're where the original controllers would synchronize with the creatures. The ceiling cracked. Dust and small rocks rained down as enormous claws began to tear through the ancient structure. The Prime was trying to reach him. "Control, I have an idea. It's either brilliant or suicidal." Marcus moved to what appeared to be a central platform. These creatures need a controller. Their original masters are gone. But the interface is still here. And they're drawn to it. Drawn to anyone who might be able to control them. The ceiling was giving way. Through the widening gaps, he could see the Prime's massive eyes, glowing with bioelectric energy, focusing on him. "If we can't stop them, maybe we can control them. I'm going to try to interface with the system. If it works, I might be able to redirect them. If it doesn't," he took a deep breath. "Tell the colony to run." Above him, the Prime opened its enormous jaws and roared, a sound that shook the very foundations of the earth. But Marcus stood his ground, ready to either make first contact or face his end. Blue light pulsed through the ancient control room as Marcus stood perfectly still. Above him, the Prime's massive eye filled the hole in the ceiling, its glow matching the rhythm of the facility's power. "Easy," Marcus whispered, though he wasn't sure if he was talking to himself or the creature. "Let's figure this out together." The control platform hummed beneath his feet. Images flashed across the walls. Memories stored in the facility's database. He saw them now. The creators of these beasts. Tall, spindly beings with multiple arms, building their weapons with pride and fear mixed in equal measure. "Control," he said into his radio. "I'm seeing their history. These creatures, they were built for a war. A war the creators lost." The Prime pulled back slightly, its huge head tilting as if listening. The neural interface was working both ways. As Marcus learned about them, they learned about him. The creators. Marcus watched the images flash by. They made them too well. The beasts developed faster than expected, started making their own decisions. He saw scenes of destruction, of the creatures turning on their masters. The creators tried to put them in hibernation, a last resort failsafe. More memories flooded the system. The creators had built chambers across the planet, storing their weapons until they could find a solution. But they never did. Time passed, the creators vanished, and the chambers waited. "That's why they're waking up now," Marcus said, understanding filling him with both dread and hope. The failsafe had a time limit. They were supposed to wake up to find new orders, new masters, but no one was here. The Prime lowered its head again, bringing one massive eye level with a hole in the ceiling. Its pupil contracted, focusing on Marcus with terrifying intelligence. "They're not just weapons," he realized. "They're lost, following old programming because they have nothing else." The interface showed him more: the complex neural networks, the hierarchical structure, the need for guidance burned into their engineered DNA. Suddenly, the facility's sensors blared a warning. The screen showed the second hibernation chamber under the colony beginning its wake-up sequence. No. Marcus moved to another console, understanding the alien technology better now. "There's something much bigger down there. The Prime. It's just a sub-commander. The real leader is still sleeping." Through the neural link, he felt the Prime's anticipation. Images of an even larger creature filled his mind. A true behemoth that would make the Prime look small in comparison. "Control, we have maybe 12 hours before the main chamber opens. If that thing wakes up, it'll take command of all the others. And its programming is even more aggressive than these ones." The Prime roared, but this time Marcus understood. It wasn't a threat. It was acknowledgement. The beast recognized the danger too. Its own programming would force it to submit to the greater commander, to join in the destruction its creators had planned millennia ago. "Wait," Marcus said, both aloud and through the interface. "You don't want that either, do you? You've evolved, developed beyond your programming. You don't want to destroy. You want purpose." The Prime's eye changed color, shifting from red to a deep purple. Through the neural link, Marcus felt agreement, but also helplessness. The programming was too deep to resist alone. "Then we help each other," Marcus said, his hand hovering over the main control panel. "Your creators are gone, but humans, we understand partnership, cooperation. We can give you purpose beyond destruction." The facility's systems surged as the Prime processed this offer. In the distance, the other creatures had stopped their advance toward the colony, waiting. "Control," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "I'm going to try something that's never been done before. I'm going to offer them a new contract." Above him, the Prime made a sound unlike anything before, softer, almost questioning. The fate of the colony, maybe the whole planet, hung on what would happen next. Marcus took a deep breath and placed his hand on the glowing panel. "Let's rewrite your story," he said. Together, the ancient facility's screens filled with data as Marcus worked. Through the neural interface, he could feel the Prime's presence, a mixture of raw power and desperate need for direction. "Control, I think I've found something," he he said, studying the facility's blueprints. The hibernation chambers aren't just storage. They're reset points. The creators built in a way to reprogram their weapons, but they never got to use it. The ground trembled. The main chamber under the colony was becoming more active. Time was running out. The problem is, Marcus continued, moving between consoles, the reprogramming has to be done from inside the main chamber. Someone has to physically go in there before the commander wakes up. The Prime's massive head moved closer to the opening, its scales reflecting the blue light of the facility. Through their connection, Marcus felt its concern. The commander was different, older, more rigid in its programming. It wouldn't listen to reason. "Show me the way in," Marcus said to the Prime. "You know the tunnels. You can sense them." Images flowed through the neural link, a network of underground passages, all leading to the central chamber. The Prime could guide him there, but... "Control," Marcus said, checking his equipment. "I'm going into the main hibernation chamber. The Prime will guide me, but I need the colony to do something first." He pulled up the facility's power grid. These chambers run on geothermal energy. That's why the colony's fusion plant interferes with them. Similar frequency. If we boost the plant's output to maximum, we might buy some time. The radio crackled. "Marcus, that's insane. Getting to the colony means crossing 10 miles of open ground, past dozens of these creatures, and even if you reach the chamber, the creatures won't attack," he said with certainty. "The Prime is spreading the word through their network. They're choosing to help us." As if to confirm this, the huge beast above him let out a call, different from its previous roars. Across the landscape, other creatures responded. Through the neural link, Marcus felt the shift in their behavior. They were forming a new pattern, creating a safe corridor. "The real challenge will be inside the chamber," Marcus explained, gathering what he needed from the facility. "The commander's programming is the template for all others. It's not just about stopping it from waking up. We need to change its base code, give it new priorities." The screens showed him what he needed: the original control protocols, the command sequences, the core programming that made these creatures what they were. "The creators built them to dominate," he said, downloading the data to his portable device. "But we can rewrite that, make them protectors instead of destroyers, partners instead of weapons." Through their link, the Prime showed approval, but also warning. The process would be dangerous. The commander's mental defenses would be strong. "Control, I need you to coordinate with the colony. When I give the signal, hit the fusion plant's emergency override. Push it to maximum output. It should disrupt the chamber's wake-up sequence long enough for me to work." Marcus checked his equipment one last time. The neural interface was stable, his scanner was loaded with the required data, and his suit's power cells were full. It would have to be enough. "If this works," he said, both to Control and to the Prime, "we're not just saving the colony. We're giving these creatures a new purpose, a chance to be something their creators never imagined." The Prime responded with a low rumble that vibrated through the facility. Through their connection, Marcus felt its determination matching his own. "Starting the approach now," he reported, moving toward the facility's exit. "The Prime will clear the path. Remember, wait for my signal before hitting the fusion plant." As he emerged into the alien sunlight, the sight before him was breathtaking. The creatures had formed an honor guard of sorts, massive beasts standing at attention, creating a clear path toward the colony. The Prime moved alongside him, its huge form blocking the harsh sun. Marcus took his first step forward. "Let's go make history," he said, "one way or another." The journey to the colony took less than an hour with the Prime clearing the path. Marcus studied the massive creatures as he passed between them, each one different yet clearly part of the same engineered family. Their bioelectric fields made his skin tingle through his suit. "Control, approaching the colony perimeter," he reported, beginning descent to the chamber entrance. The colony sensors had located a maintenance tunnel that led straight to the hibernation chamber. As Marcus approached, He felt the Prime's anxiety through their neural link. The commander was close to waking. "Something's wrong," he said, checking his scanner. "The chamber's power levels are rising too fast. We're running out of time." The tunnel entrance lay exposed where the colony's construction had accidentally broken through. Marcus activated his lights and began the descent, the Prime's consciousness guiding him through the neural link. "The commander," Marcus said, partly to control and partly to himself, "it's adapting. Fighting the hibernation cycle. It knows we're here." The tunnel grew warmer as he descended. His suit's sensors showed the temperature rising. The geothermal taps were working overtime, feeding energy to the waking beast. Through the Prime's memories, Marcus saw what waited below. The commander was nearly twice the size of the Prime, with additional neural clusters that made it more intelligent and more dangerous. It had been the creator's masterpiece, and their downfall. "Control, I'm approaching the main chamber. Stand by on that fusion plant override." The tunnel opened into a vast cavern. Oh my God. The chamber was enormous, easily large enough to hold the colony's central dome. Ancient machinery hummed along the walls, and in the center, "I see it," Marcus whispered. "The commander." The creature lay curled in a massive cradle of technology, its armored hide pulsing with bioelectric patterns. It was beautiful and terrifying. Onyx scales laced with circuits, multiple rows of eyes already beginning to flutter. "The interface," Marcus said, spotting a control platform similar to the one he'd used with the Prime. "I need to reach it before." The commander's nearest eye snapped open. The neural link flooded with its presence, ancient, powerful, and completely unlike the Prime. Where the Prime had shown curiosity and adaptability, the commander radiated only purpose. Destruction was written into every strand of its engineered DNA. "Control, hit the fusion plant. Now." The colony's fusion reactor surge. Power flooded the chamber systems, creating interference. The commander's eyes closed again, but Marcus could feel its consciousness fighting. He ran for the control platform. The Prime was right. The commander's programming is completely locked. No capacity for change, no room for growth. He reached the platform. Its creators made it too perfect. Through their link, the Prime shared its strength. The other creatures joined too, their combined consciousness supporting Marcus as he interfaced with the chamber systems. "Starting the reprogramming sequence," he reported. His hands flew across the alien controls, now familiar through his connection with the Prime. But it's not accepting the new code. The commander's fighting it. The massive creature's eyes opened again. Its head, larger than a house, began to rise. The fusion plant's interference wasn't enough. "No choice," Marcus said. "Prime, I need full connection. Everything you've got." The neural link exploded with power as the Prime poured its consciousness through Marcus into the chamber systems. The other creatures joined, creating a flood of experiences, emotions, and growth. Everything they'd learned since breaking free of their original programming. Marcus screamed as his mind channeled their combined force into the commander's neural network. It was too much, like trying to contain an ocean in a cup. But he held on. Through the pain, through the overwhelming flood of alien thoughts, he kept his purpose clear. This wasn't about destruction or dominance. This was about choice, about growth, about becoming more than what you were made to be. The commander's roar shook the chamber. Rocks fell from the ceiling. The ancient machines sparked and smoked. And Marcus stood his ground, a single human standing between the past and the future, bridging the gap between two species. "Come on," he growled through clenched teeth. "Wake up." But this time, wake up different. Time seemed to stop in the ancient chamber. Marcus stood at the center of a mental storm, his consciousness stretched between the Prime, the commander, and dozens of other creatures. Through their shared link, he felt the commander's programming fighting against change. "Too strong," he gasped, his nose beginning to bleed from the strain. Its core directives are locked in place. The commander's massive head rose higher. its eyes now fully open and blazing with internal fire. Through their connection, Marcus felt its purpose: to wake the remaining chambers across the planet, to fulfill its creator's final orders: dominate, destroy, remake. Then the Prime's consciousness surged forward, showing the commander something new: images of Earth's creatures, of adaptation and cooperation, of predator and prey finding balance. Marcus added his own memories: humans learning to work with animals, to protect instead of destroy, to grow beyond their original nature. "You don't have to be what they made you," Marcus said aloud, his words carrying through the neural network. "You can be more." The commander's response was devastating. Its mental attack slammed into Marcus like a physical blow, nearly knocking him from the platform. Ancient memories flooded his mind: the fear of its creators, the pride in its purpose, the absolute certainty of its mission. "Control," Marcus managed to say. "Need more power to the fusion plant. The interference, it's our only advantage." The colony's reactor surged again. The commander's mental grip weakened for a moment, giving Marcus an opening. He pushed deeper into its neural network, past the surface programming to something more basic: the fundamental drive to survive and adapt that was part of every living thing. "There," he whispered, "that's your real core. Not the weapons programming, not the destruction. This." The commander fought back. Its tail smashed ancient equipment. Its claws raked the chamber walls. But Marcus held on, supported by the Prime and the others, showing the commander another way. "Your creators," Marcus pushed through the pain. "They built you to fight their war. But they're gone. The war is over. You can choose a new purpose." The chamber shook with the commander's roar. Through their link, Marcus felt its confusion, its struggle between programming and possibility. The other creatures added their voices, their experiences, their growth. "Look," Marcus said, projecting images of Earth's evolution, of creatures changing and adapting across millions of years. "This is life, real life, not just following orders, but growing, changing, becoming more." The commander's resistance began to crack. Its rigid programming battled against the flood of new possibilities. Marcus felt the moment approaching, either breakthrough or destruction. With a final surge of effort, he opened his mind completely, sharing everything: Earth's history, humanity's growth from primitive hunters to star travelers, the endless possibility of change and adaptation. The Prime added its own experiences, showing how it had grown beyond its programming to become something new. The commander's mental presence wavered. Its massive body trembled. The battle wasn't physical now. It was happening in the space between minds, in the realm of choice and change. "Choose," Marcus said, his voice barely a whisper, but his thoughts crystal clear. "Choose what you want to be." For one terrible moment, everything hung in balance. Then, the commander's eyes changed color, shifting from burning red to deep, thoughtful purple. Its mental presence transformed, rigid programming giving way to something new, something alive with curiosity and possibility. Marcus felt the change ripple through the neural network. The other creatures responded with calls of triumph and welcome. The Prime's satisfaction flowed through their link. "Control," Marcus said, his voice weak but triumphant. "The commander, it's done. It's chosen to change." He looked up at the massive creature, now regarding him with eyes that held intelligence rather than just programmed purpose. The commander lowered its head, not in submission, but in acknowledgement, one conscious being to another. Through their link, Marcus felt its new understanding. The commander had awakened, not as a weapon, but as something unprecedented. A bridge between what it had been created to be and what it could choose to become. The future opened before them, full of possibilities neither humanity nor the creators had ever imagined. 1 month later, Marcus stood on the colony's observation deck, watching the incredible scene below. Where there had once been empty red plains, now there was purpose and organization. The creatures, no longer weapons but partners, worked in coordinated groups to build their new home. "The latest survey results are in," he said into his recorder. "The commander's influence has reached all hibernation chambers on the continent. No more random wakings, no more ancient programming." The Prime moved past the window, its massive form casting a brief shadow. Through their maintained neural link, Marcus felt its satisfaction. The creature had found its new purpose as a bridge between species, helping others of its kind adapt to their new existence. "Control marked this as day 30 of Project Evolution," Marcus continued. "The changes are remarkable. They're not just accepting new programming. They're actively growing beyond it." Below, he watched as flying creatures helped survey teams map the planet's surface. Larger beasts assisted with construction, moving materials that would have required heavy machinery. The commander supervised it all. Its ancient military precision now turned to organization and protection. Their biological tools, originally designed for warfare, are being repurposed, Marcus noted. The neural networks that once coordinated attacks now share knowledge. Their ability to reshape terrain is helping us build better, safer structures. He touched the neural interface that now sat permanently behind his ear. The doctors had warned him about maintaining such long-term contact with alien minds, but he knew it was necessary. He was the living proof that humans and these creatures could work together. "The colony's expanding," he reported. "With their help, we're building new habitats that work for both species. They're even teaching us about the planet's deeper resources, things the original surveys missed." Through the window, he watched a group of smaller creatures helping botanists tend to experimental crops. Their natural understanding of the soil composition had proven invaluable. What had once been weapons of war were becoming tools of creation. The commander appeared on the horizon, its massive form now a source of security rather than fear. Through their shared network, Marcus felt its message. More chambers had been found on the southern continent. New members of their strange family would soon wake up to a very different world than the one they were programmed for. "There are challenges," Marcus admitted into his recorder. "Some of the creatures struggle more than others with the change. The older ones, especially, need time to adapt, but they're learning from each other, growing together." He smiled as he watched a young colonist fearlessly directing one of the largest beasts to move building materials. Children, it seemed, had no trouble accepting their new neighbors. They saw past the fearsome appearances to the intelligent, often playful beings beneath. "The creators never imagined this," he said. "They built weapons but created life instead. Life that could choose, adapt, become more." He paused. Maybe that's what they really wanted all along. Not tools of war, but children who could grow beyond their parents' limitations. The neural network hummed with activity. Thousands of minds working together, sharing experiences, learning, growing. Marcus felt the Prime's agreement with his thoughts. The creatures had found something their creators never gave them: freedom to choose their own path. "Final note for today," Marcus said. "We're planning the first official cultural exchange program. Selected colonists will learn to interface directly with the creatures, while they learn more about human society. Both sides are nervous, but eager." He looked out at the transformed landscape. The red plains that had once seemed so empty were now full of life and purpose. Human buildings rose alongside carefully constructed habitats for their new allies. It was more than just cooperation. It was evolution, two species growing together in ways neither could have managed alone. "1 month ago, I stood my ground when these beings seemed like monsters," Marcus concluded. "Today, we're standing together, building something entirely new. That's the real victory, not over them, but over what we were all supposed to be." Through the neural link, he felt the agreement of thousands of minds, each one unique, each one free, each one becoming more than its creators had ever dreamed possible. The future was no longer about standing against each other. It was about standing together.